What is pile driving? To answer this question, we need to know what is a foundation. A foundation is the lower portion of a structure that is responsible for supporting the gravity loads to the earth. Foundations are broken down into two categories: shallow foundations and deep foundations. To understand what a shallow foundation is, there's a great story about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. First of all, Pisa in ancient Greek means boggy land, and this is the problem with the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's built on a very boggy, soggy land that cannot support foundations unless they're deep. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is more than 185 feet tall, but its shallow foundation is only 9 feet deep. This kind of building needed a much deeper substructure, and therefore it has been leaning over, and that is the problem. It just did not have the kind of deep foundation necessary to support such a structure. It's clear the Leaning Tower of Pisa needed deep foundations, and that takes hammering. And we all know what hammering means, right?
Hey! Oh! Okay, good. Is it not there? Yep. Oh.
Deep foundations can be traced back to ancient Rome, where they started out with a handheld mallet to drive wooden posts and expanded that to two-man mauls and then to larger and larger machines. And there's one ancient story that we should all know about. Every good pile driver should know about a very famous deep foundation story which happened in Rome in 50 BC.
The Rhine River lies on the edge of what is known. For centuries it has been a buffer protecting Germanic tribes from Roman expansion. No previous army could cross it with the might needed for conquest. But Caesar is unlike any previous warrior.
Crossing the Rhine was a completely new engineering feat as far as its scope. The river is 1,000 feet across, possibly more, 25 to 30 feet deep, with unknown currents.
The bridge would need to be 4 football fields long and sustain the weight of 40,000 soldiers. Caesar's soldiers methodically transformed local timber into an expanding bridge. The foundation of the bridge was a series of wooden piles driven into the bedrock of the river. Each pile was 1.5 feet thick. Toward the middle of the bridge, they had to be up to 30 feet tall to reach from the surface to the bottom. By driving the piles in diagonally, Caesar's engineers added extra stability to the bridge.
A lot more strength against the force of the river and flooding of the river and so on, but it's much more difficult to drive them into the riverbed than it is to drive a vertical pile.
On the upstream side, the piles leaned in the direction of the current. 40 feet downstream, the corresponding piles leaned against the current. Each set of piles was joined by a long connecting beam 2 feet thick. Lengths of timber were then laid across the beams, and the surface was finished with tightly wrapped bundles of sticks.
We have the ancient Romans to thank for many of the terms that we still use today, including some of their tools, like this 3-man mallet. Here are some examples of Roman terms we still use today: head shew, leaders, ram or lump or piston. So, what does pile driving mean? It means installing a solid member into the earth to support a substructure.
เปล่าเมียเราแล้วก็ตัวไม่เบาอ้วนอ้วนขาวขาวก็คือเมียเตี้ยเตี้ยดำดำก็คือเมีย